Hey, today we are going to be talking about some new information. It's not necessarily new, but it is from the Hermetic school of Thomas H. Burgoyne, C.C. Zane, as well as Illuminated Brahmanism. It is the Hermetic philosophy of how the soul is created and differentiated from the whole, and how the soul goes through a process of involution down through some of the highest states of being down to the lowest, being a mineral, goes down up from the mineral to the plant, to the animal kingdom, and then taking a final stop at the human kingdom, in which this life prepares us for the next dimension. So let's get into this information. So, one thing, what is the soul? So the soul is a individual, eternal, immortal unit of consciousness, of being, that has eternal progression, which means that once it's created, its destiny is eternal progression, and it's immortal. So the soul is not it's not allowed to stagnate. Um, there's been a misinterpretation of the teachings of, let's say, reincarnation, or exactly how many human lives that you receive. We know that in the Vedas and the Vaishnava tradition, and esoteric Vaishnavism, we understand that there's higher spiritual, they call them higher spiritual planets. Once you die from the physical realm, you'd manifest on the spiritual planet that you would most be akin to, due to the law of affinity, or the law of attraction, or inner outer. You go to where you are, whether that be a low astral hell, or an astral slum, or a lower material planet that's even more dense than here. Some say this is the densest you can go in the spectrum. However, there's some say that there are more physical realms below. But even in the astral realms, there are different variations of the level of consciousness and being, and how you're able to function there. So the idea is that in the beginning, before the individuation of the soul, before the soul took itself out, or was taken out of the whole and made an individual unit, unlike where some say that the entire whole is just fragmented itself and lost itself in a Maya illusion, and as each individual unit wakes up, then the whole is recovered. But in this situation, we're coming at it that in the beginning, the positive, negative, wisdom, love. In the Hermetic tradition, the masculine force is the wisdom, and the feminine force is love. The more personal aspect, the creator, and the more logical, superpersonal aspect. Together, it forms super interpersonal. So a lot of people say that, God or the creator is just energy, or an impersonal force. Now, it does have impersonal functions, and impersonal machine-like type of mechanical aspects of itself, but the cause behind it, or the knower of the field, is always personal. Hence, we're personal. Personal cannot come from something impersonal. So we have the father-mother unit as one. This is before the soul's individuated. And then it splits from within itself. It comes from its inner potency, is Radha. Radharani, the feminine aspect. Purusha, Prakriti, Krishna, Radharani. The whole, which is one, you could say it's it's within itself. It's a very sexual in nature, just as above, so below, just like humans. There's this positive and negative polarity here that splits into positive, feminine, and then when it comes together, it creates individual soul. You could say the first individual soul in Western esotericism would be akin to Adam or the Christ, but essentially, on a more individual microcosmic level, as we all have our individual spiritual family tree, so to say, going on, we also, this is us. This is our individual soul, and how it splits from the whole. and this is still it's in and of itself its own individual selves. There's still the father wisdom, the mother love of the universe, and that womb of creation, that matrix creates a gestation or fermentation place for souls. But that's in the physical realm. We haven't gotten to the physical realm yet. So on the way down, we become also like God. God creates us in his image, her image, he, her. Jehovah Elohim. Elohim is plural for gods and goddesses. In the sense we're talking about positive and negative, intelligent, creative, archetypal forces. So once you come out of this, then Adam is split. Eve is split from Adam's rib. Adam takes a rib out. What is that saying? That as above, so below. So in the same way, the wisdom, love, masculine, feminine, God split itself and came together. So too, you came out in one unit, or split into Adam and Eve. And in the Egyptian rituals, in ancient Egyptian times, these would be the candidates. Adam and Eve are cast out of the garden. What does that mean? They're cast down the 7 planets, and they go down to the 7 chambers, from the angelic to the archetypal to the mental, all the way down the astral steps. As we come down the astral steps for the 7th dimension, all the way down to the first, entering the physical realm, losing, and there's a split. We are then split from our divine counterpart, the Adam and Eve. So this is before physical creation. Once you're split, then they're sent down. So essentially, you were masculine before you incarnated as a male, and you were feminine before you incarnated as a female. If your outer appearance in the physical realm, if your polarity, your outer appearance is a manifestation of your inner polarity. So essentially, in the school of Thomas H. Burgoyne and the Hermetic teachings, ancient Christianity teachings, and in this school of thought, the soul has a gender before physical incarnation. What happens then? The souls go down to the lowest point, going down through the kingdoms, the salamanders, the sylphs, the Undines, the water, finally the gnomes, entering mineral, plant, animal, and then finally human. Once in human incarnation, these two are normally separated and are on a mission, a polarity to these two. The journey of life is to allow the polarities to develop and to maximize the properties, so that once these come together, this is termed the soulmates, they come together on the earth plane. However, it has been said, especially in the age of forgetfulness, that many people don't necessarily meet on the physical realm and end up meeting in one of these 7 astral kingdoms. I wouldn't call them kingdoms, more as these are all planes of existence. So when you exit the physical realm, usually people leave in 2s, just like the operas or the ancient Orphic, or I can't remember which mysteries, but in one of the mysteries you leave in 2s, the swans, the mysteries of the Adam and Eve. You left the Garden of Eden together, were cast out, were guarded by the cherubim of fire, and were told, to come back, you must, you have to plow the field, work it from the sweat of your brow. It's talking about the soul coming down into this physical realm, which is a death to the soul. You come down all from the highest heavens all the way down to a rock, and then up into human. And you only live one life here, regardless if it's good or bad. You're not going to heaven or hell, or necessarily a oblivion. A lot of the Eastern teachings, or even Western esoteric science, has now taught us that the highest state of consciousness is spiritual oblivion. But even Helena Blavatsky first was quoted to promote a doctrine of non-reincarnation, and that the soul only lived once on the physical plane as a human to prepare it for these astral realms. Now, these various astral realms, you are various on depending on your merit, depending on your character. We're going to be going into that extensively in the next videos. This is just an introduction into some of this new information that's already been publicly it's already been out in the open. It's nothing's new under the sun. Then just the different ideas that you experience, your consequences, your karma, or your individual need to overcome certain aspects of yourself they're dealt with in these astral planes. You no longer have access to the physical realm once the physical body died, because the physical body is the crucifixion of the soul and the four elements on the cross of the T of the body. Once crucified, has to enter these astral realms. Once here in the seventh astral realm, you have to die in all these astral realms. There is death, there is life, there's activities, there's jobs, there's clothes, there's all different kinds. It's just in the same way that you have dreams where there's buildings and clothes and things to learn and activities, in the same way that's where you go when you die, except you won't ever return to a physical body. So this physical world was preparing you to enter these higher spheres. Now, these are not all positive. There's still, you could be stuck in paranoia or all kinds of mental or psychological or emotional, spiritual disorders, and experience discord and disharmony in any of these planes until you finally die in the seventh plane, ascending the seven rings of the cycle of necessity, because this is all the cycle of necessity. Cycle of necessity starting at Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, going all the way down into physical incarnation at Libra when the sun sets. This is September when the fall happens, or 6 p.m. when the sun sets. You're going down into the tomb, down into the mysteries. It's the born in the spirit realm in these months, spring and summer, Aries to Virgo. And then these are the physical incarnation when things are getting dark, when the sun is setting. The sun is entombing itself in physical matter, the four elements, to triumph, to reconcile the difference between these polarities, in which return to whence it came, because it's eternal, immortal, progressive, individual. You don't go into the cosmic goo, you don't go into oblivion, you don't reincarnate. You're going to incarnate, or you could call it reincarnation, because your life is going to be very similar here as it is here in the physical realm. If you don't get past astral realm 2, 1, 2, or 3, a lot of this is real similar, doing a lot of activities. There's such thing as earthbound souls, where you disincarnate from the physical body and you're left wandering around the subterranean astral realms, trying to experience vicariously through others the vices that you are still attached to. So this is why you have to prepare in this life for these subtle realms where you can't even eat meat up. You can't eat meat. You can't do lustful activities. You can't harm others. So the more you purify your life here and prepare and let go to understand the cycle of necessities, to always progressively let go, so that when these astral planes, you're able to understand the conception of rising up the seven rings. I mean, in the Hermetic traditions and esoteric science, we always know that we're coming down the seven rings and going up the seven rings. You know, they have us thinking that we're going to constantly just be focusing on the physical realm for eternity, eternally reincarnating 108 times, or you're reincarnating through your grandchild, or you're going to be going to hell, or you're going to merge with the infinite consciousness and lose your individuality, or teachings of no self. And the thing is that is actually retarding your progress, to know that you're going to have to transmute the lower gross into the higher, because these astral realms are higher velocities of life. There's still houses, there's still jobs, there's still relatives, there's still people, there's still necessities. It's just certain things in this realm. As we go in the physical realm, has 64 laws. Next plane existence, 48. Next, 36, 24, 12, 6, and 0. And that has nothing to do with laws of morality. We're talking about laws of fixations, laws of how this realm works. For example, in these realms, teleportation and aerial travel is number one, but the most common thing is walking. And in the physical realm, same here. We have airplanes, buses, trains, but we end up walking around anyway. And like I said, a lot of this information can be found Illuminated Brahmanism, Thomas H. Burgoyne, Light of Egypt 1 and 2, C.C. Zane, my website, innermysteries.org. Check out the new book, Divine Mysteries of Existence, link in the description. And also, they were going to be going extensively into this. Check out the Academy, Santos Academy, and find out more about the soul's origins, and see how we actually have spiritual parents and a soul origin, and that how we actually appear in these astral plane, this plane of existence in the astral plane, right after the physical death. It is actually a spontaneous transfer from the physical realm to the astral realm. And if you haven't built your spiritual body, then you have to build the spiritual body in the astral plane. The thing is a lot of functions, very important aspects of life happen in the physical realm, and it's easier to advance here. You have a lot of time and focus and consecrated energies to focus on the development. So a lot of people miss out on the opportunity of the physical realm. That's why understanding the mysteries and living life in service to Creator, service to humanity, love your neighbor, love God more than love God just as you love yourself, love your neighbor. These teachings help you understand how, if you follow the teachings of Christ or Krishna or the higher consciousness through the prophets and messengers or the seers, the sages, they're all helping you prepare for this plane of existence. And if you read the books that I mentioned, it will explain how and why this was misinterpreted and how we can understand things from another perspective. And how even if the other schools of thought were teaching maybe something that was misinterpreted, such as how many times reincarnation is necessary, or if reincarnation is necessary, or where the origin of the soul, or where you're going, or the gender of the soul, it was only due to a misinterpretation. It was only due to some of it wasn't out of spite or on purpose. A lot of it was just kind of lost in the ages, lost in a lot of the times the priestcraft did use a lot of this to like keep people enslaved, like on the western side of the Christianity, try to make you feel like you're going to either go to heaven or hell. Well, these astral realms, they're not necessarily heaven or hell. It's kind of like here. I mean, you can call this hell, you can call it a prison, you can also call it a paradise. So this is important to understand, and we're going to definitely go into this more. And please check out some of the other videos on my channel here that help explain this as well, because I've been explaining this for about 2 years now, since I read some of these books and got this information, and then just putting things together, it all kind of made sense. So hope this helped. Thanks.